Good morning to you all. It's good to be here in Invercargill. I think it's my 7th time in Invercargill in only 26 months, so it's kind of a favorite place for me, and it's good to see that my Dutch mates and my fan club are always present, so thank you for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 topics. I'm going to talk about the year which passed, that's 2013. I do want to keep it very brief because for me it feels like almost half a year or more ago with what we went through. So I will touch upon 13 very brief. Then I will talk about the WPC 80 event, but more important is what is our view on the future, what are the trends we're seeing, and what's the journey we're on. So very important. These 3 words, by the way, have not been chosen just at random, because I think when you go through difficult times, what we went through, clarity, very important. We have to know why we're here and why we're doing all the things we're doing. And that, for me, clarity is connected to our strategy. Commitment, of course, commitment to New Zealand, commitment to our grassroots, but also commitment to our markets where we have to deliver value. And confidence, to be honest, when you go through roller coasters like this, you have to constantly be in touch with the farmer base, but also with the organization, that we keep confidence on the journey where we're on. Because I still believe, and I was here my 2nd day into New Zealand, I still believe we are very well placed. This is one of the best places on the planet, New Zealand, to do dairy farming, but to also have an excellent business model around dairy. We are very well connected, we have good systems, we have fantastic people, we have great brands, so that confidence part is really very important to me and to keep going, and that's why I want to spend most of the time on what's the journey going forward. Let's go into the first topic, that's last year. I really want to keep it brief. I have a very strong group here in the front. They're able to answer all sorts of questions afterwards. The drought, really, and that surprised me in New Zealand, because the first year for me was all green, and then the 2nd year in February when I went with John to the Waikato, this was the picture. And I've lived in Africa, in the Sub-Sahara, and it was really not far away from what you see in Central Africa. So really, really dry. That part in the graph, which you see in autumn, that is really for us 200 to 220,000 tons of whole milk powder. So that affects us big time in terms of volume, but also in terms of value. As a company, it affected you on farm even more, and that's why we really stepped up. Our balance sheet was very strong because of good working capital management. What John said, trading amongst farmers, gave us the possibility to support farmers, to really go through that very difficult time and make sure that we could go into this season on a very strong footing. So, talking about volume and value, again, quite short. We ended up flat, 4 million metric tons, mainly because of New Zealand. You see, only New Zealand gives a growth of 1%. And that 1%, if we would not have had a drought, and we would have had that 200,000 tons in our inventory for sale, then we would have grown 5%, right? 5-6% in New Zealand, and as a company also 5-6%. Good news here is that the emerging markets did well, double-digit in the first time around Asia, Africa, Middle East, and Latin America really outperformed the market. So Asia, China, Latin America grew faster. We grew faster than the market, so we gained share. Value-wise, you see 736 million, that's a big number, resulting in 47 cents earnings per share. If you normalize it, or this is normalized because we reported 44, but the difference is because of the bonus issue. Strong result, but 100 million to be fair, out of the 736 was incidentals on interest and tax. New Zealand milk, I said it, only 1% increase, 2.8 million metric tons. Yeah, the 200,000 would have been added if we had no drought. I think the good news in New Zealand milk really is that we focused on cost, and we did that in a very good way. So cost, working capital, capex management, what we could control was controlled pretty well. But the drought really affected New Zealand milk big time. And just to give you flavor, the spike in milk prices, or the spike in whole milk powder, and milk price products, and the non-milk price products, which affected our value here, going to -2, was about 200 million shift in the second half, 200 million New Zealand dollars. So from a plus 70 million stream returns, we ended up at minus 130. So a huge shift in 6 months. Australia and New Zealand, good story by New Zealand. They did extremely well all across the business. Really had market share stable or gained market share. The results here are because of Australia. Australia really under pressure. And that's a bit of a mixed bag that New Zealand did so well. And Australia really is under heavy pressure. Why is Australia under pressure? I can really point it out in this slide very easily. On one hand, or starting at the bottom, you have Murray Goulburn, traditional co-op. They put everything into milk price, right? Everything. Even sometimes we believe balance sheet items go into milk price. So really a traditional co-op, and they drive aggressively for milk price and consolidation at the moment. So milk price is high, and retailers are creating pressure at the other end of the chain. And if you don't have your act together, us in the light blue box, processors, if you don't have your act together, you don't run an efficient model with low complexity, you're going to have trouble. And we have seen that, or people who have lived in Europe, it started 25 years ago. Will this pass by? It will not pass by. We have to get our act together, and that's why you see our key priorities here. Reorganize and reshape the business model, so we have to get complexity out, less brands, less SKUs, lower cost, higher efficiencies, bigger runs. So we really have to work on that, because if we don't work on our efficiency and complexity, we don't have a ticket to the game. Second here is we need to be an attractive partner for retail, and we can't have an attitude like we don't make private label for you because it is the margins are much lower than our brands. Yes, the margins are lower than our brands, but if we don't make private label for the retailers, and if we don't help them in innovation, and if we don't help them to take cost out of the value chain, we are not going to be an attractive partner for retail. And last but not least, we have to be part of consolidation, because the market is consolidating very fast because of the pressure. We've seen it in Europe as well. So these are really our 3 priorities. Get our business model efficient, be an attractive partner for retail, and be part of the consolidation. We are not going to give up on Australia. It's our front yard. If we give up our front yard, it's only a matter of time before people are in our backyard. And in our backyard, New Zealand, we still have a very, very solid and good business model. Asia, Africa, I've spoken about it, I keep it short. The good news here is that we are doing well, very well in volume. First time we show double-digit growth, driven by good markets like China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam. A lot of people there, because before our key markets, New Zealand, Australia, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Chile, 5 markets, it's very good that we have leadership positions, but it's only 100 million people. So we need markets like China, with a lot of people, or Indonesia, Vietnam. So the good news is here, we're driving growth from there. Value as well, I think this is really an example of driving volume and value for the co-op. Latin America, a little bit of a mixed bag. Soprole very good, extremely good with 4%. It sounds low if you look at Asia, but 4% was higher growth than the market. DPA, good news on volume. On value, Soprole extremely good with 31% growth. And DPA a bit or quite disappointing with 54% negative. There's a 19 million one-off in last year. And if you look in local currency, it's not that bad, but we definitely have to step up the game with DPA. But we are in discussions. Outlook, you've seen this. This is a little bit modified from what you have seen in the farmer meetings. So the 862 is still very much there, because that was our latest forecast. It is going to be a fantastic year for the co-op and for farmers, for everybody. I mean, it's going to be, we already know with where we're heading, where GDT is heading, with contracted volumes, that it's going to be an outstanding year for the co-op and for New Zealand. I estimate that we are going to do 2.5% to 3% growth for the country by the developments in our co-op. So that's good news, but this huge volatility gives pressure because of stream returns. I've spoken about it, the difference between milk price products and non-milk price products. And our cost price for our brands, of course, is going up. And we want to turn the wheel, what Lucas was talking about. We want to grow volume share. So to give you an example, in New Zealand, if we would translate the milk price increase to our consumers, the milk price of a 2-liter bottle would go from $4 to $6 tomorrow. Right? And if it goes from $4 to $6, I know who's going to face the cameras in front of Mr. John Campbell. That's going to be me. And that's not the worst part, but the worst part is really that we will see volume in New Zealand, dairy consumption going down very fast. So we cannot translate this high volatility instantly to the market. So there will be margin pressure. So we have two big buckets, stream returns, margin pressure. That is going to be discussed with the board in December, and that's why you see in the second bullet, we're not going to have an extensive discussion, and we can't. We have DIRA obligations, 1. 2, we have an obligation to protect the co-op. Yeah, really protect the co-op long term and stay on strategy. We are going to give our position to the board in December, and then we're going to talk about farm gate milk price, advance rate and dividend. I know there's a lot of talk around dividend. I know you're worried about it, 32 cents. The world has again evolved even more since our last forecast. We are going to run in line with what we normally do, DIRA regulations, and we will run that in December board meeting. Is the gap likely to close between milk price products and non-milk price products? Yes, but it's already going for quite a while. I expected non-milk price products and milk price products to come together much faster. The gap is still massive at the moment, which is good for our milk price, yeah, but which hurts us in New Zealand milk operations. The first day of the new year, after 13, you expected a cow here, of course, because of our cooperative nature, but I put us in front of 4,500 business leaders around the world. That was the 1st of August. We had an enormous elephant entering the room, and that was WPC 80, right? And that is still for some people around the country and around the world the elephant in the room, and what we are working on at the moment. So immediately we defined this with the 4 R's. You know the 4 R's: the recall, review, recover, and rebuild. And I compare ourselves to the crew of Team New Zealand. Yeah, that we were on that boat on 44.8 degrees, and if it would have been 45.1, then we would have seen a different outcome, right? So we were very close to the edge on the 1st and 2nd of August. So how did it look like? A lot of you have heard this already on Sky broadcast and other or emails, but really the recall, I was at the other end of the world, got a phone call that an independent institute had a report with 3 conclusions: botulism, toxin producing, mice are dying. So if you have that news, you have nowhere to go. Yeah, that meant really that it's a very difficult decision, but it only takes 2 minutes to really say, we have to go into a recall. We knew at that time that food safety and information, there was a big trade-off, right? Because you make a call for food safety, but we knew that we did not have all the information, right? So those first 3 days were very difficult, and they were even more difficult because we did not connect the dots. Straight away, Maury ran the review, operational review for me next to the board inquiry. And we really, I'm not going through all the findings, but really what we found out, and on these 4 boxes, our people are very conscious about quality and food safety, but they are not always able to elevate their concerns. It stays low into the organization. So what we did here is we opened up telephone lines like with whistleblowing techniques or customer call lines that you can make calls straight up to the Director of Food Safety and Quality, and that you can express your concern that things are not even events, but even questions around food safety and quality are going up much faster than we were used to in the past. So our people have the ability now to use phone lines to really express concerns or report events, etc. So that's one example on our people. Our products, yes, it was a false positive, but I don't like to downplay the fact that we had a contaminated product. We had a contaminated whey product that was very clear. Human errors, people use a torch. The torch got sucked into the dryer. We lost part of the torch. We decided to 100% reprocess at the end of a season. And if you decide to reprocess 100%, you should ask yourself, do I allow this stuff to go to baby food or not? Those kind of questions and learnings we need to really take in. Because possibly if you have rework 100%, you should instantly say, this is not for baby food, this is animal feed. The delta in value would not have been much, but we would not have gone through this whole cycle of the event. Our systems, John spoke about it, but just to give you perspective, we produced that WPC 80 was 38 tons. 21 tons went to animal feed anyway, to customers, but 17 tons entered into baby food. 17 tons after Darnham became 2,200, still in our supply chain. Then went to our customers and became 6,500 tons in 23 markets. And at the same time, we were changing from J.D. Edwards to SAP. Yeah, so we had a massive change of systems. And it's not an excuse, but these crises happen when there's a multiple set of events and possible wrong calls, not connecting the dots, and then you end up in a situation where we were in. Yeah, but on traceability, A, it was difficult. B, we had a system change, but on traceability, definitely a lot of learnings. Our response, the board has spoken about it, John has spoken about it. First 72 hours in New Zealand could have definitely been better. But what I'm more concerned about is if we go and test for botulism in somewhere in April, right? Sorry, not in April, somewhere end of May. Yeah, so end of May we say we're going to test. We know that the answer is yes or no. It's black or white. So at that point in time we have to escalate things to the right levels, and we need to have a conversation. What does black and white mean? If it is a yes, what are we going to do? If it's a no, what are we going to do? Yeah? You don't need to do much, but yeah, that escalation did not happen, and that's definitely a learning. I'm a bit extensive on this part, on these 4 blocks, but I think you need to know some of our key learnings. The recovery phase, we went into that pretty fast. To be honest with you, there were some calls to us or people I said, should we stop doing things, stop launch of UHT in China, stop launch of infant formula, possibly stop even certain products shipping to markets. We made a call straight away. In 4 to 6 weeks, we are in the peak. And if we stop shipments right now, it's going to be an awful logistical headache and a mess. So we continued everything, of course, with our brains fully turned on, but we continued shipping to markets, and we said we have to work in markets to keep market access, and that's what we did. Right now we are in rebuild. Rebuild in market, I would say we are in a good space with local authorities. We are in quite a good space with customers. Out of the 8 affected customers, 7 have been addressed, closed out. We have a commercial deal on the table. One not yet, and you know who I'm talking about, so that's where we are. But the most difficult part here is consumers, because a lot of consumers know there was an issue. Almost everybody knows, like in China, 84% awareness of our name, Fonterra, which we can turn into a positive, possibly. But also 84% of the people know what happened. Only 40% know that it was a false positive, right? So that's what we're working on. Good, but we have, out of this event, and I wanted to share this from my perspective with you, but we are having a very strong, and that's back to the first slide, clarity. We have a very strong proposition. That's our strategy, volume, value, velocity. Did we change a lot in our strategy, or no, we didn't. Yeah, we have slowed down a few things, and we have even increased speed of other things. So in terms of speed, yes, we made some amendments. Did we change the strategy and our action plans? No, we didn't. Because this strategy very much applies to the co-op, and this is why we are so well placed in the world. Talking about the world, I'm going to share, I'm not going into strategy and all the activities we did. I'm going to share a few trends with you and reinforce why we are so well placed. If you look at these 4 countries or geographies, I mean, who could have imagined that all 4 are in a very short time span going to be part of the top 10 countries in the world: China, India, Indonesia, and Brazil, right? And what's going to happen here? I mean, consumers are going to double. Consumer spend is going to double. But more important for us, middle class, and remember, or yesterday the story about Jacqueline, protein to middle class, protein to urbanization trends, very important. There's 500 million middle class in those 4 countries alone. We are present in 3 quite strongly: Indonesia, Brazil, and China. And India will come later. So 500 million people asking for protein, 130 million new babies every year. An aging population, that's maybe even a bigger trend. All people talk about infant nutrition. I tend to talk a little bit more about the aging population, because not many people in our world are addressing that issue or that big trend. We have Lean. We have a lot of know-how in Palmerston North, a lot of unlocked potential. So that's a trend we definitely have to look at. A bit deeper, I'm not going into the context of this slide, but I think China will be the largest economy in only a few years' time. And if the US keeps on pushing all the decisions forward and forward, then it might even happen in 2015 that they are the largest in the world. They built 50,000 skyscrapers in that time period, or till 2050. That's 10 times New York, talking about urbanization. Brazil, upcoming economy, we're there. We have a fantastic food service model around Asia. We don't run that in Brazil, but if you look here, in Sao Paulo alone, 2.5 million pizzas served every Sunday. Yeah? And they require dairy products. We have fantastic mozzarella techniques and IP. We have never used it in Brazil, so we're starting a pilot there right now. Indonesia, close to my heart, because it was my first country abroad, but I remember when we went there as a family, it was really a developing country. When it rained, there were no telephone lines, you were 5 hours in traffic, you were almost drowning in water, and you had to write to your parents on airmail paper. And now it's the most connected country almost on the planet. When you look at social media, it's the #1 in the world already when you talk connectivity. I mean, enormous developments. India, you know my opinion, they're still not open for New Zealand milk. So we are not going very active, but India should definitely be on our radar screen. Then going a bit more deeper into dairy, other trends. The consumer wants information, and they don't want a little bit of information, they want a lot of information. You see the table here on a can of baby food. I tell you that my countrymen or people in Europe, and even in New Zealand, I guess, they don't look at this. For us, dairy is safe. When you go to Indonesia or China, people, the mums and dads of that one child or one child policy in China, they know what's in this product. And they know each and every content, and they know what it's going to do to their child. Yeah, so they want information, especially in emerging markets, because child is precious and they want to know, they want to know all the nutritional information. So that's one trend. If you connect that with this trend, connectivity, they want to know all the information and they share all the information. So they talk constantly, right? All day they are connected. The world is connected, right? And then we get better and better in testing. So milk fingerprinting, all that kind of stuff, the testing standards are getting better and better around dairy. We do almost 7 million tests a year, and the techniques are getting better and better. If you connect the three, more information, more connectivity, better testing, the world of dairy and food safety and quality is definitely going to change. And we need to use our event we just came out, we need to use that to go to the next level. We need to lift the game. And that's why I'm talking about this. The NASA, I truly believe that with what we have in Palmerston North and with cooperation of key customers, I had talks with Abbott, Coca-Cola, they really want this. They know that we need to create something together, which is called the NASA of Food Safety and Quality. I'm not only talking about testing, but information, consumer call lines, that you really develop something to connect to the needs of those consumers. So that's why we're talking about it. And coming out of the crisis, it gives us an excellent opportunity to lift the game. So this is one message I would like to leave with you, that we have to lift the game, and we cannot do it alone. We need local authorities, we need the industry, we need customers, consumers to do this. But could New Zealand be the place for a NASA ID in dairy? I think so. Second, and you have heard me, and some of you might be annoyed about this, I've been, as you say, I believe, rattling the cage a bit on sustainability, because I do believe it is the next platform. We come out of this, we have to lift the game in food safety and quality, but we also have to lift the game in sustainability. Two things what the media did not say was that I said we are 20 years ahead when it comes to dairy, our business model, on farm and in factories. We are the most efficient. We are by far ahead of Europe. Europe would love to be in the position of New Zealand when it comes to my light blue box here, our business model. We are really way ahead. 2015 is next year. They take away the quotas and the support. But I have to say, we have to make sure that we lift our game in sustainability. And I'm not talking about farmers. I'm talking about sustainability in the chain, end to end, on farm to the consumer. So it includes factories, it includes logistics, it includes the whole lot, right? Because if we have a clear story on sustainability, we can connect it to our strategy, and our strategy becomes even stronger. And I think we can catch up very fast in the field of sustainability. So that's the next platform, if you like, on after rebuild, that we have to go out and thought we're going in February, right? We are ready in February to go into the farmer base. But again, it's not only about farmers. It's also factory, and it's also logistics. A whole holistic plan on sustainability. So I want to leave you with last message next to lifting the game and sustainability. The journey, as far as I can see it, in 2011, I arrived in this beautiful country and I saw a very proud co-op, very well placed. First thing I ran into in the Taranaki was a heavy debate with one of my fellow directors sitting on the far left from me Mr. Mr. Blue on trading amongst farmers and capital structure. We think it's far behind us. It's only a year ago, right, that we really launched it and we got going. But that was the first debate. We developed a strategy. We developed the turning the wheel, which is very important to create value and drive volume, enable you to grow. Then we got sidetracked. You see in the dotted box, you see the crisis, the 4 platforms. Yeah, so we really went off the journey into the crisis. But we are going back now to develop that second wheel you see, and that's the wheel around our strategy, our brand and reputation, and our people, our culture. But very much focused on what you see in the heart of it, in the yellow part, our vision, our story, and our values. Right? So we have to go back to develop that. We have to deliver on strategy. So high performing, good, strong reputation, and highly engaged people. That's what the colorful circle says. And we are going to launch that in March, April of next year. That's why you see 2014. And once completed these 2 wheels, turning the wheel, volume, value, and our true DNA, including sustainability, then we can really develop to a globally relevant co-op. And that is very well in time, because in 2015 Europe will open and we can connect the dots in the world. We're very well placed. Yeah? But we have to work hard, in my opinion, in 2014. Not only as management, shareholder council, farmer base, we need you. We need you for the journey on sustainability. Yeah? And we need to work together to come out of this event and come out stronger, and I'm sure we will.